Espionage, revenge, fights, dreams, explosions, and love are all key components to the just released movie Agent. Oh, and I think there's a Wizard of Oz component to this movie as well. There's no place like home. Hi, this is Tom from Spy Movie Navigator and our show, Cracking the Code of Spy Movies. We're going to give you our no-spoiler quick-fire review of Agent here. We'll keep the spoilers out, but give you our opinion and some background to help you determine if Agent is worth your time and money. Our goal is to help you with your viewing experience if you choose to see this movie. Agent took a while to hit the big screen. The COVID-19 pandemic really slowed its release. It was originally scheduled to release in December of 2021, and it ended up being pushed a few times until they finally hit on April 28, 2023. The tagline for this movie from IMDb says, "A spy with a mysterious past who's on a mission to uncover the truth about a dangerous terrorist organization." The terrorist organization is called the Syndicate, and it reminded me a little bit of Spectre. But wait, is that the movie I just watched? I guess that's part of the movie, but really only part of it. It's not the whole movie. Agent starts with some missiles being launched and hitting their target. It was an exciting way to open this movie, and I really liked it. There's more to the pre-title sequence that I won't go into so that I can keep this review no spoiler, but that opening shot was well done. I do want to remind you that if you've listened to our review of Pathan, you know that I don't have a whole lot of experience watching movies from Bollywood or Tollywood in this case. In fact, until last night, Pathan and Razi were the only two movies from India that I'd seen. They were excellent spy movies in my opinion, and they were very different from each other. For this American reviewer, I still have a lot to learn about the way Indian movies are made, and I felt that strongly while watching Agent. For me, there's a different feel to the way the Indian movies feel that I've seen and how they're filmed versus what I normally see out of a Hollywood or UK movie. Agent doesn't feel anything like Bond, Bourne, Mission Impossible, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, The 39 Steps, or even The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. It's a different feel. I mean, in Agent, there are song and dance breaks in the movie, as there are in Pathan and other Bollywood movies and Tollywood movies. They advance the plot, but this isn't something we see in most of the movies made in the US or the UK. Yes, we have musicals, but this is something different. And it's common in Indian movies. I'm more comfortable with this now that I've seen a few of these, but it does make for a different viewing experience than what I'm used to seeing. There's another thing that was different than what I'm used to. There's an intermission in the movie at 1 hour and 20 minutes. Pathan had an intermission as well, but in Pathan's case, the theater kept the movie going and didn't stop for an intermission. This time in Agent, the movie was paused, the lights came up for what I think was like a 10-minute break, and then the movie kept going. It was a little bit different and actually kind of nice because everybody could take a little break, but also this movie was 10 minutes shorter than Pathan. So I don't know if that made a difference why they did or didn't take the actual intermission. And I'm going to talk about another movie that I watched after watching Agent last night. That was another Indian movie. It had an intermission in the middle of it as well. So I'm beginning to believe that, so far 3 of the 4 Indian movies I've seen have had an intermission in the movie. So that's another difference in the movie experience than what we're used to here in the US. Agent stars Akhil Akkineni as Ramakrishna, who likes to call himself the Wild. He's also known as Ricky in this movie. He's the main character that the movie is based on. Sakshi Vaida plays Vaida, Ricky's love interest. Mammootty plays Raw Chief Colonel Mahadev, who's also called the Devil. Dino Morea plays a character called the God, or often just God, and he's a former Raw agent. So those are the main characters in the movie. Now, I mentioned the word RAW a couple times there, and if you're not familiar with the term, RAW stands for Research and Analysis Wing. It's India's foreign intelligence agency like MI5 or the CIA. Now, I like the acting in this movie, except, unfortunately, for the role of Ricky, and that's a problem. He's in almost every scene. Now, Akkineni might be a fine actor, and he looks the part of the character he's playing, but I just don't buy him here, and he's supposed to be this loose cannon, but I'm not quite sure Akkineni knows what this character is supposed to be. Now, I don't know if it's the actor, or if it's the director Surinder Reddy's direction, or maybe it was Vakamtam Vasi's writing. But in any case, the character of Ricky just didn't work for me, and I think I'm blaming that on how Akkineni played the role. Again, he may be a fine actor. I just didn't like his portrayal of this character. That said, the other characters I really liked. Mahmoudi's portrayal of the devil is excellent. He shows the challenges and emotions that a chief of intelligence has to deal with. I mean, he's a very seasoned actor, and he does a great job here. How would you react to sending an agent to an almost certain death for the good of the country? Mahmoudi lets you into this inner conflict and how the chief has to always put up a strong front, and he does it really well. How would you deliver the line, "You work here to kill, but you must be ready to die"? To me, that's the best line in the movie, and it's a good one. And Mahmoudi does it really, really well. Just think about what that line means and what it means to become an agent. There's another good line in here. It's not by Mahmoudi's character, but it's a different character who says, "I concentrated on you for 10 minutes and did this. Imagine if I concentrated on you for an hour." I'm not going to tell you who says it or where in the movie this line is, but it works very well for the scene it's used in. Another actor I'd like to point out is this Dino Moreno's excellent portrayal of the God character. And there, I mean, he's got some really good acting here. And the movie has good acting. I just don't like Ricky. Now, this God character is a wonderful, evil character, and Morea sells it. And I would like to point out that the God character is not God in a religious sense of the word. Rather, this character says many times in the movie, "I am the best." He kind of reminded me a bit of Nicolas Cage's character Castor Troy from the Face Off movie, but somehow the God was meaner. I also like the actor who played Ricky's father. He was a bit of a comic relief and he played this really well. Unfortunately, I missed his name in the credits. I mean, it was a small but memorable role. Sakshi Vaidya plays her role very well, but she isn't given all that much to work with in the script. She's the spark in Ricky's eye, and she has to show some emotions, but we don't get enough of her, in my opinion. There is a very disturbing conversation that she has with a superior, and she played that very well. I just didn't think she got enough to do to show off her range. And part of that might be because this movie didn't seem to know if it was a romance movie or a spy movie. I mean, the recently released and absolutely dreadful movie Ghosted on Apple TV had the exact same problem. You've got the love interest, but then you still have the spy movie to get in. And in neither case did I think they do that well. Now, as much as I badmouthed the Ricky character, one thing I did like about him was his passion to become an agent. It's something he wanted to do since he was a small child, and he throws everything at getting his wish. That was nice to see, as we often don't find out why somebody became an agent in spy movies. Although when we see the events that lead up to his dream and why he wanted to become a spy, it is disconcerting. It is an event when he is a child that pushes him forward, and they show the event on the screen. We won't give it away, but I think this would traumatize a child if they had to live through that. So I guess this is a good time to point out that Agent was released with no rating in the US. There's a lot of violence in this movie. When I saw Pathan, there were children in the audience, and I thought some of them were too young for the violence in that movie. Agent ratchets up the violence over Pathan. So in Pathan, the two most disturbing deaths happen off the screen. In Agent, there are two similar deaths here that we do see on screen. So I would assume Agent would probably get an R rating here, maybe a PG-13 rating here in the US due to the violence, but I think it's probably an R rating kind of a movie. Okay, back to a little bit more on the plot, again without spoilers. We said that Ricky wants to become an agent at the beginning of the movie, and there are references to James Bond at various points in the movie. Now, actually, I think they just say Bond, not James Bond. Now, Ricky has movie posters of spy movies and other movies in his computer room. In one of the songs that Ricky sings, he sings 0000 before he's cut off. We don't hear what the 00 number is that he wants to be, but I couldn't help but think of the Beverly Hillbillies episode Double Knot Jethro. When I heard it in the song, I know it was supposed to be a James Bond reference, but it screamed Jethro to me. It just totally cracked me up. Oh, and there's this dream sequence early on that confused me. It made me wonder if the plot of the movie was really a dream, or did this really happen? I get why they did it, as there was some humor in it at the beginning, but it did have me on edge for the rest of the movie, wondering if they were going to try that again. Now, in the movie, I told you Ricky wants to be a spy, and he's got a problem. The raw recruiters don't like him, and they won't initially hire him. He's a loose cannon, and he's told, "You don't have a single quality of a spy." Ouch, that had to sting. The movie then moves into some pretty standard spy action thriller stuff, and quite honestly, the movie's fairly predictable. There's a MacGuffin, there are guns, there's a Lamborghini, many chase scenes, many fights, and a good guy versus evil plot line. The henchmen can't hit anything they're shooting at, and there are conflicts between the agents and their boss. And there are even a few gadgets. One of the gadgets reminded me of the opening sequence of Mission Impossible 2. As this is a no spoiler review, I won't tell you which gadget, but you'll know it when you see it. The fights in Agent are very stylized. I mentioned in our Pathan review how the fights were filmed differently than most of the movies I'd seen. I couldn't put my finger on why it looked different to me. Well, Agent takes this to a higher level with intermittent slow motions, lots of sliding on the ground, and just crazy fight stunts. And I'm not saying this is a negative to the fights. They're different than what I'm used to seeing in spy movies that are created in the US or the UK. They are well done. It's just one of those things that feels different to me. As with all Indian movies that I've seen, there is a strong focus on country above all things. And that's definitely here in Agent. And then there's one scene that I'm not going to spoil for you, but it really looked to me like it was lifted straight out of the James Bond movie, No Time to Die. Again, we're keeping this no spoiler. It's another one of those, you'll know it when you see it. All right, up front, I said that we thought there was this Wizard of Oz component to Agent. I think that the God character could be linked to the Wicked Witch of the West. Colonel Mahadev could be linked to the Wizard. Ricky even has a robot dog. Is that a tie back to Toto? I mean, he doesn't carry the robot dog around with him, but he does talk to the dog. And then there's this big overarching plot point to this movie that really screams Wizard of Oz to me. But since we're doing this as a no spoiler review, I really don't think I should go into it. It's very important to the plot. So if I'm right, I don't want to spoil the movie for you. I'll also say I didn't pick up on it right away. I didn't get it until I was driving home. So if you do see Agent, send me an email at info@spymovienavigator.com and let us know if you caught what I think I did. If you didn't catch it, email us and ask us what it was. I'm happy to share my thoughts on that with you. I just think this no spoiler review is the wrong place to do it. Now, I sometimes get way out there with the way I think about movies, so it's possible I just am totally crazy with my thoughts here. But I really think there's a huge Wizard of Oz overhang on the movie Agent. I've told you Agent is an Indian movie. It was released in the Telugu language with English subtitles here in the US. Agent is 2 hours and 36 minutes long, and then it does have that intermission in the middle. It does feel long, and I caught myself looking at my watch a few times. Remember, I didn't like the Ricky character, which is why it might have felt longer to me. I went to the theater for the Thursday night preview, and there were 6 other men in the theater with me. I only give you the gender as this is the first movie I've been to in a while that didn't have at least one female audience member. I assume the marketing has something to do with that. Agent isn't dreadful, but it isn't very good either. Again, I have a problem with the main character. You might love him. When I see a subtitle movie, I often watch it twice, so I make sure that I wasn't missing anything by reading the subtitles. I have no desire to do that with Agent. So, should you spend your time and money to see this movie? Well, if you haven't seen Pathan, I'd suggest you watch that one instead. Agent is too predictable and the story seems weak and a little bit rambling to me. The action sequences are fine, but the story and the Ricky character are a problem for me. Now, when I was leaving the theater, I asked the guys that were walking out if they liked it, and to a person, they did not say they thought it was good. One guy told me that many of the scenes were almost identical to some of the scenes in the 2018 Telugu movie Godachari. So I watched that one when I got home, and he was right with some twists. The stories aren't similar, I mean they're both spy movies, but there are scenes and dialogue in Agent that feel like they came right out of Godachari. For one, the main character in Godachari is told, "You have all the qualities, but you lack one thing," when talking about being a spy. So that's a twist on that line that I referenced earlier that's in Agent. And there are a bunch of similarities between individual scenes or parts of the scenes. I do think that Godachari might have influenced Agent, and I thought that Gurachari was a better movie. Again, parts or scenes or little snippets of Gurachari seem to make their way into Agent. They are very different movies. Now, as for the audience members' reaction to the movie, one guy said, "I'd give it a 2 out of 5. And I think that's a fair rating. There are plenty of great spy movies to watch that are worth more than 2 out of 5. And if you want an Indian spy movie that's better than Agent, if you haven't seen Pathan, Gurachari, or even Razi, although that's a very different movie, Razi's not an action thriller. But to me, spending 2 hours and 36 minutes on Agent seemed like a waste of my time." So that's a wrap on our review of the just-released spy movie Agent. If you do go to see this one, please let us know your thoughts at info@spymovienavigator.com. We'd love to hear them. See if you've got a different view on the movie than I do. So this has been Tom from spymovienavigator.com and our show, Cracking the Code of Spy Movies. Be sure to check out our other podcast episodes on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it.